The escalating conflict in Ukraine and the increasingly aggressive posture of the Russian Federation have placed Romania, a key NATO member on the Black Sea, in a position of acute strategic peril, facing what some analysts are describing as an existential threat. The geographic proximity to the war zone, coupled with Moscow's bellicose rhetoric aimed at NATO's eastern flank, has transformed Romania from a frontline state into a potential flashpoint in a much wider and more catastrophic confrontation between Russia and the West. The buildup of military forces on both sides of the border, the intensification of hybrid warfare tactics, and the Kremlin's explicit warnings against the use of Romanian territory to support Ukraine have created a security environment more precarious than at any time since the end of the Cold War. Senior Romanian officials have begun to speak in stark, almost apocalyptic terms, warning their population to prepare for the worst as they watch Russia's relentless war of aggression unfold just across their northern border. This heightened sense of alarm is not merely rhetorical. It is a reflection of a grim, strategic reality in which a direct military clash, whether by accident or design, could have devastating consequences for the nation, potentially risking its very annihilation in a high-intensity conflict involving advanced conventional and possibly even nuclear weapons. At the heart of Romania's vulnerability is its strategic location. The country shares a long border with Ukraine and possesses a significant coastline on the Black Sea, a body of water that has become a central theater of military operations in the ongoing war. Russian navals and air assets operate with frequency in the Black Sea, and debris from Russian drones and missiles has already fallen on Romanian territory on multiple occasions, stark reminders of how easily the conflict could spill over. Furthermore, Romania hosts critical NATO military installations, including the Mihail Pogonisinu Air Base, which has become a major hub for American and Allied forces in the region. This base, along with others in the country, serve as a vital logistic and reconnaissance center for monitoring Russian activities and supporting the alliance's defensive posture. From Moscow's perspective, however, these bases are seen as forward operating posts for an aggressive military alliance, making them prime targets in the event of a direct confrontation. The Kremlin has repeatedly warned that any attack on Russian forces originating from NATO territory would be met with a swift and decisive response, a threat that is taken with the utmost seriousness in Bucharest. The response from the Trump administration to this growing threat to a NATO ally has been multifaceted and at times seemingly contradictory, reflecting the internal tensions between traditional treaty obligations and the president's America First instinct. On one hand, the administration has overseen a significant reinforcement of the American military presence in Romania. Thousands of U.S. troops, including elements of elite airborne divisions, have been deployed to the country on a rotational basis to bolster NATO's enhanced forward presence. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth has publicly affirmed the United States' commitment to the defense of its allies, stating that American forces are in Romania to defend every inch of NATO territory. These deployments are intended to send a clear message of deterrence to Moscow, demonstrating that an attack on Romania would be an attack on the United States. The Pentagon has also expedited the sale of advanced military hardware to Romania, including F-35 fighter jets and Patriot missile defense system, to enhance the country's own defensive capabilities. On the other hand, President Donald Trump has continued to voice his long-standing skepticism about the costs and benefits of America's security commitments in Europe. His public statements have often been critical of what he perceived as insufficient defense spending by European allies, and he has frequently questioned the wisdom of risking a direct conflict with a nuclear-armed Russia over dispute in Eastern Europe. This has created a degree of uncertainty among allies about the steadfastness of the American security guarantee. While the deployment of troops provided a tangible sign of commitment, the president's rhetoric has at times appeared to undermine the very principle of collective defense enshrined in Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty. This has left countries like Romania in a difficult position, forced to rely on an American security umbrella whose reliability is sometimes called into question by the president himself. The administration's policy appears to be one of deterrence through military presence, while simultaneously seeking to avoid any action that could be perceived by Moscow as overly provocative, a delicate balancing act that is becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been central to the diplomatic effort to manage this crisis. He has engaged in a continuous dialogue with his Romanian counterpart and other NATO foreign ministers to present a united front against Russian intimidation. In his public statement, Rubio has consistently condemned Russian aggression and has emphasized the purely defensive nature of NATO's military posture in Romania and elsewhere on the eastern flank. He has sought to reassure allies that the United States' commitment to Article 5 is ironclad, attempting to smooth over the concerns raised by the president's more ambiguous comments. However, Rubio is also the chief architect of the administration's broader strategy of seeking a negotiated end to the Ukraine war, an effort that now lies in ruins. The collapse of the peace plan has complicated his task as it removes the primary diplomatic track for de-escalation, leaving the military dimension of the crisis in the foreground. He must now navigate a path that maintains a credible deterrent against Russia without inadvertently triggering the very conflict the administration seeks to avoid. The intelligence community, under Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, is playing a crucial role in assessing the credibility of Russian threats and intentions. The question facing the administration is whether Moscow's warning are genuine red lines or mere bluster designed to intimidate NATO and sow division within the alliance. An accurate and nuanced intelligence picture is essential for calibrating the American and NATO response. Overreacting to Russian threats could lead to an unnecessary and dangerous escalation, while underestimating them could result in a catastrophic failure of deterrence. Gabbard's past statements, which have sometimes been interpreted as being more accommodating of Russian security interests, have led some critics to question whether the intelligence assessment provided to the president are being shaped by a particular political perspective. In the current high-stake environment, the demand for objective and unvarnished intelligence has never been greater, as the decision made in Washington will have profound and potentially irreversible consequences for the security of Romania and the entire European continent. For the Romanian government and its people, the threat is not an abstract geopolitical concept, but a clear and present danger. The government has taken steps to increase its own military readiness, including raising defense spending to well over the 2% of GDP target set by NATO and reintroducing a form of voluntary military service. Public information campaigns have been launched to educate the population on how to respond in the event of a national emergency. And there is a growing public debate about the adequacy of the country's civil defense infrastructure. The psychological impact of the war in neighboring Ukraine has been profound, with a widespread sense of anxiety and foreboding pervading the national mood. The Romanian people have shown remarkable solidarity with their Ukrainian neighbors, welcoming hundreds of thousands of refugees. But they are also acutely aware that their own country could be the next target of Russian expansionism. The fear is that the annihilation spoken of by some officials is not hyperbole, but a sober assessment of the potential consequences of a full-scale war between modern, heavily armed states. The stakes could not be higher, and for Romania, the search for security in a suddenly much more dangerous world has become the defining challenge of the current era. The nation finds itself on the razor's edge of a new iron curtain, hoping that the deterrent power of the NATO alliance and the commitment of its most powerful member will be enough to prevent the unthinkable from becoming a reality. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed, and that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to World Global Conflict, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.